Hope this adorable picture brings the best in you. What brings the worst out in people? Divorce proceedings. Especially with kids involved. It can turn a couple of average people into monsters. Ye but to Christmas. Coming from someone who had their parents divorce at 10, I beg to differ on this. Spend the bulk of the day on the road with various people upset that you're not where they think you should be. I always liked the HALT rule. If you're feeling hungry, angry, late or tired, then it's likely things you say or do will come off worse than you intend. One of my favorite quotes that is related to this. If you think everyone hates you, you probably need to sleep. If you think you hate everyone, you probably need to eat. I feel like this is how I got fat. The word free in a retail or restaurant type of setting. People will trample one another, take all of the items so there aren't any for others, gorge themselves, try to sneak food out with them. It's disgusting. I was going to say that the first manager who camped products due to poor service really screwed it up for everyone. Now I have to listen to someone who wants something for free because the box has a dent in it. There was a clinic in my city that wanted to try the Robin Hood style service, where they would charge well-off patients, but treat the poor for free. This ended up backfiring as they got flooded with poor patients and even those who could afford treatment pretending to not be able to. They closed down and presumably moved location within a year. When a loved one dies, people get really weird in a bad way about money and stuff. I know a bunch of people who had relatives who flat out stole money and valuables after the death of a family member. It's crazy. My own family has a permanent rift because when my grandmother died, 2 of the 5 siblings cleaned out her accounts. Hell, they don't even have to be dead. When my great-grandmother moved from her apartment to a nursing home, some of her children and grandkids helped her pack up her apartment, by which I mean it was a full-on feeding frenzy of theft. She was a 87-year-old woman who had been widowed for about 50 years at that point, so she certainly wasn't wealthy, but some of those people would have ripped down the wallpaper if they thought they could have sold it. Weddings. My father is a minister. He says he would rather help with a funeral over a wedding any day. Weddings leave people with a sense of extreme desperation on to achieve perfection. The worst is when the expectation for perfection is from the mother of the bride and not the engaged couple. Nothing worse than 2 kids trying to have a nice day and mom's just ducking decimates it because she can't stand not being the center of attention for one moment. Stress. Most of us are capable of being decent human beings who make a positive contribution to society. You add stress into the mix and people start to crack. Financial stress, relationship stress, work stress, it doesn't matter. When our focus is pulled into simply surviving and staying afloat, our ability to empathize or provide support to others greatly diminishes. I think this is tied in with the low morale we are all experiencing right now. We are all unbelievably stressed. I've seen some of the nicest people completely snap and act shockingly because they just can't take the pressure anymore. Add lack of sleep and you get a human grenade. You don't know where or how, but they are going to go off. Compounded stress. Stress from 2 or more areas really duck you up. You're really screwed when you start stressing about how much you're stressed. Traffic. A person who is cut off while driving. F you. That same person who is cut off while walking. Oop. Sorry. After you. It's really hard to kill someone by walking into them. It's really easy to kill someone by driving into them. I think the stakes and the stress that comes with them are what makes the difference here. Desperation. Absolutely this. Especially these days, when people are stressed to duck and losing their income, causes people to take drastic measures they wouldn't normally even consider. Also addicts to support their habit. Unprocessed trauma from childhood. As someone that is struggling with mental health, I'm only now beginning to understand why I do a lot of what I do. When our needs for love and acceptance aren't met, we seek out soothing behaviors that numb the pain. It's really easy to end up in midlife with no real idea what it means to be happy and feeling no connection to others. As you begin to work on your issues, you find that the soothing behaviors are no longer as soothing because you know why you're doing it. So, you're stuck with the emptiness that you've always felt and no way to get out of the feeling. Anonymity. Putting a mask on, being on the internet, or otherwise concealing one's identity. People do some very ducked up things when they know they won't be held accountable. This reminds me of when Instagram introduced the question sticker to the stories part of the app in 2018. People thought they could ask questions anonymously, but the app shows you who asked the question. I'd like to think that hundreds of friendships were broken that week when the feature was implemented. Black Friday. Ah yes, the only day of the year you can see a Karen curb stomp a kid over a PS5. Power. Almost every dictatorship ever. They don't want to lose their power. Travel. To know what a person is really like, go traveling with them. I lost one of my greatest friends of many years due to my birthday trip to Puerto Rico, just the two of us. I don't know what it was that caused the shift, but I literally didn't recognize her after the trip. It was awful. The worst part was I was her maid of honor in her wedding a month or so later. I tried to have a talk with her that maybe I should back out, and we had what I thought was a great talk and apology. Found out she was only nice to me after the trip to make sure I didn't back out. Barely acknowledged me if she cancelled my speech and gave it to another bridesmaid, and we never spoke again after the wedding. Like, why would you want me in your wedding photos for the rest of your life? Scarcity. Ugh. This 100%. It's bad enough with concert ticket resellers, but the scumbags will do it with anything. There's a new Lego bonsai tree set my girlfriend wants, and it's her birthday soon. It's sold out everywhere, but there are 100s of them on eBay at inflated prices. The top one has 19 sold on it. Funerals. All the heightened emotions make people irrational. Any buried family drama comes out at the worst possible time. I've been caught in the middle of it before. I didn't even know the deceased. I was there supporting my friend who had lost her mother. Someone decided this was the time to air a 20-year-old grudge as my friend walked by. My friend was so caught off guard by the accusations she was speechless. I told this crazy lady this wasn't the time or the place for this conversation, so she turned on me. Next thing I knew, some other family member was violently yanking her out of the room. I guess it could have been worse, but why did you have to make a scene at a funeral? Mario Kart. Monopoly. You know. Basically any game where you can really duck over your friends and family. Not being accepted by other people. Social contact and validation is no different from food or water. Yes, people can starve on validation too. That's why simple things like greeting strangers in the street or always saying thank you are so critically important. Jealousy. Not just for success. I've seen many relationships crumble because someone was happier than the other. Inheritances. I've seen both my family and friends' families absolutely ripped apart after someone dies and another family member doesn't feel they've received their share, or that the will was unfair, or that property mysteriously goes missing before the estate is settled. Awful stuff. I think the worst is my friend's dad and his sister haven't spoken for over 30 years due to a squabble over their mother's will. 30 years. The kicker is that they're both quite well off on their own. Friend's dad is a very successful trial lawyer and friend's aunt married a successful doctor. This wasn't money either of them ever actually needed, but they've not had a relationship for decades because of it. People get real stupid when it comes to their kids. The my baby can do no wrong attitude when your child is ducking shut up needs to stop. Alcohol. If alcohol were discovered tomorrow, it would be illegal. Hunger can make people do things they never thought they were capable of doing. It can drive your mind out of control. This is why the food bank is my favorite charity to give to. I've never experienced true food insecurity, but I've been moderately hungry from time to time and notice how terrible everything becomes from your mood to the ability to function. How can anyone hope to improve their situation in life with that kind of constant debuff? Pain. But at the same time it can bring out the strength you never thought you had too. Echo chambers. It is easy to dehumanize people who are different than you when you never spend any time interacting with them. Organized religion. Specifically Christianity. I'm a Christian, and I think religion and personal faith is fine, but when you start having multi-million-dollar church buildings and preachers with million-dollar private jets, something's gone wrong. Thinking they're being cheated. It almost makes me want to stop doing games in class, because if there's two teams, both teams always complain that the other team has some sort of unfair advantage. In reality, neither team understands the true length of a minute and thinks they're being cheated on time. Fear. Every single answer so far ultimately ties back to fear. Fear of losing money. Fear of losing power. Fear of losing livelihood. Fear of sickness or death. Fear of failure. Fear of missing out. Fear, in any form, with any motivation, turns people into blind, panicky, stupid, vicious animals. And then there are those who benefit or profit by stoking fear in people. They, obviously, are worse than animals, but are likewise motivated by those same fears above, creating a vicious fear circle.